Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Ignition Time. Let's take a look at what the President of the United States is up to and also some new bizarre comments that continue from Republican senators. Let's start by taking a look at Senator Ted Cruz at a hearing about the NCAA athlete compensation. He says, and I quote, "I am concerned about just how political the NCAA has become on the question of transgender athletes." So, let me get this straight. As far as Senator Ted Cruz is concerned, it's okay if people are freezing to death in the state of Texas because then, that's the time when you go to Cancun because, we all know that Ted Cruz loves Cancun. In fact, he's known as Cancun Cruz. He's okay with the insurrection that took place on the 6th of January. He's okay with Russian collusion. He's okay with police officers getting assaulted on the 6th of January. But this transgender ban, and by the way, it's not like there are millions of trans athletes that are trying to compete in the NCAA. This transgender ban is an area of concern as far as Ted Cruz is concerned. So it's okay to have Russian collusion. It's okay to try and overthrow the government. But this is something that makes Ted Cruz extremely uncomfortable. Let's roll the tape and hear about Ted Cruz, the Republican senator from Texas, his concerns about athlete compensation in the NCAA. Let's roll the tape and watch.
I will say, Dr. Emmert, I am concerned about just how political the NCAA has gotten on the question of transgender athletes. And in particular, on April 12th of this year, the NCAA stated, quote, "The NCAA Board of Governors firmly and unequivocally supports the opportunity for transgender student athletes to compete in college sports." And the NCAA further said, "When determining where championships are held, NCAA policy directs that only locations where hosts can commit to providing an environment that is safe, healthy, and free of discrimination should be selected." That was a not remotely subtle threat for the NCAA to target and boycott any states where legislatures are acting to protect girls' sports and women's sports.
That's it, everyone. Our taxpayer dollars at work. Speaking of taxpayer dollars at work, here's President Biden on his first international trip. He's snapping a bunch of selfies. I'll also highlight some important things that the president said. But first, let's take a look at President Biden just chilling out and snapping a bunch of selfies on an international trip. Let's watch. So, on his first overseas trip as the President of the United States, President Biden says he's going to meet with Mr. Putin. I would call him Dictator Putin. He's going to meet with Dictator Putin, who, by the way, was best friends apparently with former President Trump, because we all know former President Trump loves dictators. And he said he's going to meet with Mr. Putin to let him know what I want him to know. It's about time that someone stood up to that dictator because all he does is cause all sorts of trouble. Let's roll the tape and hear from President Biden.
This is my first overseas trip as President of the United States. I'm heading to the G7, then to the NATO ministerial, and then to meet with Mr. Putin to let him know what I want him to know. And at every point along the way, we're going to make it clear that the United States is back and democracies of the world are standing together to tackle the toughest challenges and the issues that matter most.
Switching gears back to Republicans, the Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell has another reason to complain about the Democrats. He complained that the Democrats have, quote, introduced new high-stake tests of wokeness and are attempting to tip the scales of our electoral system. He said this, I quote, "Wage discrimination on the basis of sex has been illegal for 60 years. Now, I don't know what world he lives in, but wage discrimination on the basis of gender does indeed exist. And let's take a look at the Senate Minority Leader, Mitch McConnell, continuously trying to manufacture problems that don't really exist. Let's watch him claim that the Democrats are trying to tip the scales of the electoral system. Let's watch.
Plans to jam hospitals, schools, and small businesses with new high-stakes tests of wokeness to dramatically curtail Americans' right to keep and bear arms, and of course to tip the scales of our electoral system permanently in their favor. Yesterday, the radical parade began with an attempt to use the cause of paycheck fairness as cover for placing unprecedented new legal burdens on American employers. Wage discrimination on the basis of sex has been illegal for 60 years. Wage discrimination on the basis of sex has been illegal for 60 years.
Speaking of Republicans trying to cause trouble and trying to create more shenanigans, here's Senator John Cornyn, the Republican from Texas, on opposition to Republican bills restricting voter access. Remember, the Republicans are trying to introduce more bills to restrict voter access, and he says this: once you play the race card, it's hard for people to think clearly because it tugs at our emotions, it tugs at our collective, frankly, guilt. So he's talking about not playing the race card while trying to play the race card in an indirect way to restrict voter access. Pretty interesting language of manipulation here from John Cornyn from Texas. Let's watch.
We've heard similar lines of attack from many across the aisle who falsely tried to brand this law as a form of voter suppression. Once you play the race card, it's hard for people to think clearly because it tugs at our emotions. It tugs at our collective, frankly, guilt emanating from the earliest days of our country that we've come a long way to try to rectify.
And shifting gears from John Cornyn to Senator Rick Scott, the Republican from Florida, who apparently completely forgot that former President Trump was best friends with the dictator Putin and the dictator Kim Jong-un. He says this, and I quote, "It seems like he wants to be friends with these dictators." He's talking about President Joe Biden. He said he must be scared of them. Joe Biden has never stood up to a dictator in his entire life. Pretty interesting considering the former President Trump never really stood up to any dictators, specifically dictators like Putin and dictators like Kim Jong-un. Let's roll the tape and hear more bizarre comments from yet another Republican senator, Senator Rick Scott from Florida. Let's watch.
People don't believe Biden has a backbone. I mean, think about it. He shuts down the Keystone Pipeline, but then he gives Russia a pipeline. He gives a green light to the Russia pipeline. I mean, what's he done since he's become president that's ever held China accountable? And what did he do in his 8 years as vice president to either hold China accountable or Russia accountable? He's done nothing. It seems like he wants to be friends with his dictators. He must be scared of them or something. So we all hope for the best. But Joe Biden has never stood up to a dictator his entire life.
In the meantime, Democrats are lashing out at Republicans. Here's Senator Elizabeth Warren, the Democrat from Massachusetts. She says, and I quote, "Republicans are afraid of losing power and they are willing to crush our democracy to protect their power." Wow, that's as intense as it gets. Let's roll the tape and hear this passionate statement from Senator Elizabeth Warren, the Democrat from Massachusetts.
Republicans are afraid of losing power, and they are willing to crush our democracy to protect their power. So what are we going to do? We can hang back. We can pause. We can turn the other way while Republicans do this. Or we can fight back. I'm fighting back. We can fight back by passing S1 for the People Act.
And finally, let's take a look at Dr. Fauci, who's calling out preposterous Republican attacks against him. He said this, and I quote, "That issue with masks is people want to fire me or put me in jail for what I've done, namely follow the science." And that is true. Dr. Fauci has been admonished, has been consistently insulted, consistently attacked verbally by crazy senators like Senator Rand Paul, the Republican from Kentucky. I don't even know what's wrong with that guy. I don't know what's up with him. And, I don't even bother to think about him too much, except when he's trying to create trouble by attacking Dr. Fauci. Let's roll the tape and hear Dr. Fauci talking about him being attacked, preposterous attacks by Republicans. Let's roll the tape and hear from the one and only Dr. Fauci. Let's watch.
That issue with masks is people want to fire me or put me in jail for what I've done, namely follow the science. I could go the next half an hour going through each and every point that they make. It's preposterous, Chuck. Totally preposterous.
So there you have it, everyone. The president is busy at work standing up for the country, standing up against dictators, while Republicans are doing everything they can to create as much trouble as possible to manufacture problems that really don't exist and essentially at odds with individuals like Dr. Fauci. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. please click the like button, please subscribe, please enable notifications. That really helps our channel, that really supports our channel. My name is Dr. Nitin Chhoda with Ignition Time. This right here is a little bit of information about me. You'll learn more about who I am, what my journey has been like, and why you should listen to me. This channel, the Ignition Time channel, is about the country, the economy, as well as our money. Please click the like button, please subscribe, please enable notifications. Also follow us on Twitter. When you follow us on Twitter, you'll get the latest breaking news alerts in real time. Thank you so much for watching. We look forward to seeing you in the next episode of Ignition Time. Take care. Bye.